My name is Lin Martinez, and I am a survivor of childhood molestation and also domestic violence. I was dating a killer. When I was 5 years old, my mom and dad divorced. I don't remember much of their relationship. What I do remember is that they would argue constantly. We moved when I was about 11 years old. A month after we moved, my mom had been in a relationship, and we didn't know anything about this man, of course. I remember walking in my home, in my apartment, and he would look at me funny. His eyes would always be on me. I would tell my mom, and my mom would say, well, maybe it was something that you were wearing. It's my home. I should feel comfortable in my home. This day was the day that I lost my innocence, but I remember being in my living room and I was just watching TV, and I heard like the floor creak behind me. As I was laying down on the floor, I felt somebody just jump on my back and turn me around, and it was my stepdad. And he forced himself on me. He started kissing me. He told me to open my mouth and move my tongue around, and I froze. I was only 11 years old. I froze. I didn't know what to do. Thank God that my mother was in the apartment. I heard her footsteps, and she came in and he just jumped off really quick, but she didn't know what was going on. I went to my room. I cried. I didn't know what to do. I was like in a state of shock. I did one day tell my mom what happened. I said he forced himself on me. He tried kissing me, and she says, well, are you sure? She didn't believe me. She's like, I don't know what to say. I don't believe you. After that, I started getting in trouble in school. I would have fights. I remember sometimes I couldn't be in the dark and be in the room by myself. So I started sleeping in the living room, and I remember one day I felt like somebody just standing there looking at me. And I opened my eyes and he was right in front of me, just standing by my bed. And he was playing with his private parts. And that's the first time I ever saw a I did tell my mom. I kept on, trying to tell my mom, this happened, and I was afraid of this man. I didn't want him around me. I even had insomnia because now I can't sleep at night. So when I would go to school, the teachers would yell at me for falling asleep, but they didn't know that I was falling asleep because I was trying to be awake and trying not to get raped by this man. This man started lying about me to family. I started getting in trouble with my family. He started telling my family I wasn't doing the dishes, I wasn't doing my chores, I didn't want to go to school, and I was always getting into trouble. I remember telling my cousins what I was going through. They said, wow, I can't believe that. I'm going to tell my mom. I said, please, because I wanted help. I wanted someone to take me out of that house. I remember when I saw my cousins again, I said, well, did you tell her? They said, yeah, she knows. And I'm like, well, why isn't something going on? So my whole immediate family knew what was going on with me, and no one bothered to take me in. I would think a lot about killing myself. I remember when I did school one day and I was at the subway, I stood in front of the train station and I just wanted to jump. I didn't love myself anymore. He took my innocence away. He took my mom away. All I wanted was for my mom to love me. I didn't have the love of a mother. She was not there for me the way that I needed her. So as a kid, I didn't go to parties. I didn't drink because when he kissed me, he tasted like. So I never drank. And I remember when I was 40 years old, that was the first time I ever drank in my whole life. And a lot of people didn't understand, but I wasn't going to tell them, oh, it's because I was molested and the person that molested me had his breath and it tastes like. I'm not going to go into all those details, but the reason why I couldn't drink was because of that. So I couldn't be in a party because the smell of liquor was just present. I couldn't go to a bar. I couldn't go to clubs. I didn't go to any of that. I finally ran away from home when I was about 13 years old. And I had a best friend from school and I planned it out. She suggested that I would go with one of her neighbors who had a car. He let me stay in his car at night. And his car was parked by a gas station. It was late at night and that gas station had a bathroom. So I would use the bathroom, I would wash up, and I would go back into the car. During the day, he would come and just drive me around. I would go to my friend's house and that's how I would eat. I would go from house to house. On the 5th day that I had run away, one of my friends knew who my mother was, and I guess she called her and told her where I would be. And when I got there on the 5th day, my mother was in her house waiting for me. I remember coming into the room and I saw my mom there and I just like froze and I got white and I'm like, how did she get there? But I figured it out, and it was because of my friend's mother who knew her. We were talking, and I told my mother specifically, I said, I am not going into that house if he is there. My mother ended up marrying this man, and I did not want him as a stepdad. So she let me stay one more day with my friend at the house. I had a home-cooked meal after like maybe 3 days of not eating. My clothes were falling on me now. And the next day, when my mother came back, she came and got me and took the clothes that I had taken with me when I ran away. And I didn't know that she had called the cops. So she had to call the cops and let them know that I was missing, but now she found me and that I was at a friend's house. And I went back home, and the minute the door opened, I seen him there. And that made me hate my mom so much. I had a friend that lived around the corner, and he ended up being my boyfriend. And at the age of 16, I had my first child with this person. I had stood in his house. I told my mom I was pregnant. There was nothing that she can do. So my mother didn't really do anything to me because the cops were already involved, and she knew that I was going to speak. So she kind of let me do my own thing because I kind of threatened her. I said, well, if you do something to me, I'm going to call the cops and I'm going to tell them what your husband really did to me. She would back away because she was trying to protect him. She let me stay with his family. His mother taught me how to cook. His mother taught me, how to do for myself. Now with the baby, I remember when I was about 8 months pregnant, my mom knocks on the door and she says, I need to speak to you. And I'm like, what happened? And I seen her eyes were very swollen, like she was crying. So I'm like, what's wrong? And she was telling me that my stepdad was in the hospital and that he might not make it. And she needed me there for her. I really wanted my mom. I didn't care about the situation, but the fact that my mother came to look for me, I told her, fine, I'll go with you because I still wanted that love of a mother. I went with her. She was going in and out of the hospital. And I think about the third day, she came back one day and she was her eyes were really bloodshot red and they were swollen, and she told me that he had passed away. I didn't have any feeling. I was numb. I felt actually as if God heard my prayer. I hated this man. This man took my mom from me. This man put my family against me. This man just did so much to me. So I was actually happy that he was out of the picture. I did go to the wake, to the funeral. His cousin was talking at the funeral. He was the pastor doing the ceremony. And he was talking about the love of God and how God is so good and that one day we'll see my stepdad again. And then he made an altar call. And he asked people if they had wanted to receive Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And he kind of invited me to go up. And I was like, there's no way I'm going up. There's no way I want to see this man in heaven. There's no way I want to be near this person. I want nothing to do with this man. I hate life. I'm still depressed. I eventually went to live with my mom again. My son was born. My son made her very happy. She was just, like a grandmother with her grandson. She was very happy, and I was happy to see my mom like that. But we never spoke of the childhood molestation. We never spoke about what happened to me. It was just swept under the rug. And there were times where I wanted to speak to her about it. I wanted closure. I wanted to tell her how I felt. I wanted to say, this happened to me. Because of this, I don't trust people. Because of this, I don't dress like regular women. Because of this, I can't have a happy life. I wanted to tell her, but I couldn't. I never, told her when we just swept it under the rug. I had 3 kids by the time I was 21 years old with the same person. But that marriage didn't last because there was things that I went from being a teenager to having a child when I didn't even have a childhood. So I didn't know how to do for me. I didn't know how to really be there for my children, the way that a mother should be. I didn't have this guidance, I didn't know how to do certain things. After the divorce, I did go back to school. My spiritual mother, she actually helped me to get my GED. I even went to Bible college. I had 2 years in Bible college. I got my associate's degree, and I do plan on going back one day. But I never really had a relationship with the Lord like I should have had it. You know, you could see someone in church and they can have all these degrees and titles and whatever, but you need to know their relationship with God. And I really lacked that. I did not have the relationship with God the way that God wanted me to have with Him. I stood by myself for a while, and I got reconnected with a boyfriend, with a friend of mine that we used to work together in the nursing field. And we became best friends. He was showing me how to play tennis, and I became his girlfriend. And we started dating. And so he asked me if I had wanted to stay with him until I found my apartment. And that seemed like, a fair deal. But that ended up in me living in not being where God had wanted to take me. As soon as I moved in with this person, I started seeing red flags. He was very controlling. Even when we were shopping together, he would tell me the things to buy. He would tell me how to look. There was a lot of red flags that I saw. And he had like a split personality. He would be one person. He was like very bipolar. He would be happy, and out of nowhere he'd be upset and mad and start throwing things. One day we were having a discussion, and he took my phone, which was nearby. He took the first thing that he saw and he threw it at me. If I didn't duck my head, it would have hit me in my face. And I'm like, I need to get out of here, because if he threw the remote at me, if he threw the phone at me, it could get, worse, and it could get violent. I wanted people to think everything was okay. I wouldn't post any drama on social media. I would just put pictures like everything is fine. We're okay. We seem like a happy couple. But I wouldn't tell anybody what I was going through. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was in a domestic violence relationship. I was embarrassed that I had to walk around eggshells with this man. I was embarrassed to even bring my family and friends around him because he had a split personality. So the day that he threw the cell phone at me, it was because I had touched the subject about why he didn't have any children. He had gone a vasectomy early in his 20s, and he didn't want children. So I was asking him what made him not want any children, because I wanted to, for him to open up to me. He didn't want to open up to me. He just got upset and he threw the phone at me. Another time was when I would go grocery shopping and I bought something that was not good to him. He would get upset and his behavior would change. He would give me the silent treatment. He would just be in a mood because I didn't buy what he wanted me to buy. He had a gun collection. When we would have an argument, at the end of an argument, he would always take his guns and start cleaning them, always around me. And he knew I would get upset, with the guns in my face. And I remember laying down in the bed and he would just have the guns on the bed and he would just clean them one by one, knowing that I didn't want to be around the guns. His closet was full of maybe 3 guns. In the kitchen, there was another gun. When we would have arguments, the only time he would clean his gun was after we would have an argument. And it was like he was showing me, yeah, look at what I have, keep it up. Trying to intimidate me, trying to make me be scared of him because of the guns. And I would just start thinking on how to escape the situation. So I pretended like I was going to work one night and I let him leave first. I'm like, yeah, I'll see you later. And I would text him, but he didn't know that I was leaving. I had a plan to leave. I had a friend pick me up. She even told her husband. He came in a pickup truck and took all my belongings. I had things in boxes. I left, and I even left a note before I left. I had the key on top of the note, and I said, please don't ever contact me. I want nothing to do with you. I didn't tell him where I was going, and right after that, I was looking for another job so that he wouldn't know where I was going to be. It took me about a week to go to the district court to file a restraining order because he had a gun collection. I was afraid that he was going to come after me. He did text my phone right after the breakup, which I saw the number. I didn't read the message. I just blocked it. I went to the court and I petitioned a restraining order. And he came in with a nice suit. He came in with the lawyer. He spoke good words. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have anyone with me. And I tried, to tell my story, but they made it very brief. And I ended up losing. He had a grin on his face and he just walked out. One day he saw me walking in the street and words were said. He just blurted out stuff from his car. And I said, I can't do this. I went back to the court and I petitioned another restraining order. And that was also denied. Right after that relationship, I got my life back on track with God. I asked God to forgive me. I went to school again. I became a chaplain. I started working. I was in a better place. 2019, I met my husband after being like 5 years by myself. We had mutual friends. This time I knew more about him. I spoke with his pastor and he was also a pastor. I was in a better place. I prayed, while I was in the relationship, I prayed. He proposed to me in the church. It was very beautiful. I didn't know he was going to propose to me, so it took me off guard. I felt like God was opening doors in my life once again after I really gave my life to God and I was just working for him. And as a chaplain, I was in a really good place. And in January 2021, I was coming home from church. I'll never forget it. And a friend of mine was home and she said, I need to talk to you. You need to sit down. And I'm like, what happened? And she says, you really need to sit down for this one. You're not going to believe it. So I sat down and she said, did you get any alerts on your phone from where I used to live? Something happened with your ex-boyfriend. He just killed his girlfriend and he killed himself. And I said, what? And I looked at the phone and it said, Charlton, Massachusetts, a homicide-suicide. I froze. I couldn't even get up and she's like talking to me and I'm like, this can't be happening. And I saw a text that was sent to her and it said, send this to Lin because this could have been her if she had not left that day. I have moved on. I've forgiven in my heart. That's what God wanted me to do, was just move on, let it go, and now start your new journey. And my journey began right after that with my husband. The Lord gave me a beautiful wedding. The Lord gave me such a good man. Right when I met him, I found out I had lupus. My husband is a true man of God. He loved me through it. After we got married, I remember he was cleaning the drain from my hair. God gave me such a good man. I thought that my life was over. I made so many mistakes, but God gave me such a good man, a caring person. He's so gentle to me. He's not abusive like the relationships that I've had before. He was there for me emotionally, physically. He was there. I'm very happy for just God blessing me with him. So here he is taking care of me while I'm going through the lupus, and I found out that I was misdiagnosed and I have what's called trauma-induced fibromyalgia, and that causes a lot of joint pain and just is chronic pain. I have learned how to take care of myself now. I am on a strict diet. I don't have like all that pain that I did at the beginning of our relationship. We have since moved and we're in a better place together. We have a ministry together called Speak Up, Speak Out Against Sexual Abuse. Speak Up, Speak Out Against Domestic Violence. It is time to speak up and speak out and let people know that it is wrong, that you don't have to tolerate any of that abuse in your life. My husband and I have spoken in churches. We have done community work. We have a ministry called also Sunrise Ministry. It's called SONRISE. And we help the homeless community. And that led for us to also have Speak Up and Speak Out. So we are in a better place right now. And I'm just so happy that I was able to give my life back to the Lord and walk the way He wants me to walk. We have 2 books coming out. It is with the publisher as I speak. When I became a mother and my kids were teenagers, I was very overprotective of them. I wouldn't let them go to parties. I wouldn't let them have a lot of friends like they had wanted to, but I wasn't trusting of anyone. So that really, put a wall between us. So I was like the bad person, not letting them have a life, but I didn't have a life. So, and I wanted to protect them from what I went through. I didn't want my kids to be abused, to be molested. I didn't want any of that, but I was protecting them in the wrong way. I wouldn't let them have friends. And when they would want to go to a party, I wouldn't want them to go to a party. I was afraid there was there or something was bad was going to happen to them. So I had a lot of fear. My children were already, they weren't with me. Yeah, my two older children were gone, and my daughter was away in the army. She left when she was about 17, so she was young. I didn't have my kids with me. So I am Lin Martinez, and this is my story.